This video is our guide for Mr. Fantastic. This is one of the new characters with Season 1, and we've got some really good tips for you with this hero. So starting off with his primary attack, which is the Stretch Punch. Now this deals 60 damage, so every time you punch someone, you're getting 60 damage, which is absolutely insane. And it's spell field damage. The drop off for this is 15 meters, so if you're past 15 meters, you're going to obviously get no hit markers whatsoever, so just keep that in mind. You do fire pretty quick, to be fair. It's not super fast, but it's pretty decent. Now, one thing that's really impressive about this ability is that you can actually swipe it across multiple targets. So as you can see here, you're doing damage to everyone. You could probably do like a 360 with this. I'm not 100% sure, but you really want to be trying to hit as many people as you can. His next ability is the Distended grip. This is quite a complicated one, so we're going to go through all the details here. So first of all, to do this on one target, you grip them, which deals 20 damage. You impact them, that deals another 50 damage, so a total of 70 damage. That's how it works. Now the grip distance is actually 20 meters, so if you're within 20 meters, you can grip an enemy from that distance away, and then you can obviously impact them as we've shown you before. So that's pretty insane. Now, another option you do have is to grip two enemies together. So you can grip this enemy, and then you can also impact them against this enemy here as well. But the damage you deal is 20 for the grip, 20 for the grip. Then it's a total of 30 damage each after that. So you actually do less damage on two enemies because you're dealing 50 and then 50. So his next ability is absolutely insane as well, which is the flexible elongation. Now you grip an enemy, you deal 30 damage, but you gain 75 shields, and you can do this twice. So you can do this to two different enemies. So once this respawns, you'll do 75 HP, 75 HP, but you're also dealing 30 damage to each of these enemies as well. Now you're at basically 500, including your shields. But also the way this works is you can bounce off of teammates as well. So you can bounce off a teammate, and you give them 75 shields, and you give yourself 75 shields. And again, you can do this twice, or you could do a mixture of both. Now, his next ability is the Reflexive rubber. Now, how this works is that you basically press the ability to then turn into a shield, which is for 3 seconds, and you turn into a shield of 300 HP. Now, you cannot die in this state whatsoever. So even if you're taking more than 300 HP damage, basically the shields just stop working. So you don't technically die, you just go back to your normal state. So as you can see here, you could just basically take that in and absorb as much as up to 300 HP's worth of damage. Now that's something that's absolutely insane. But not only that, the way it works is it actually throws back the damage to the enemy player. Now it throws back a damage based off of 60%. So you're not dealing the full amount of damage back to the enemy. So if you absorb the maximum damage you can, which is 300 HP, you're going to deal 180 damage back to the enemy. So now all this is pretty impressive up until it comes to his passive ability, where he becomes absolutely insane. And that is once you build up this meter that is in front of your screen here. So every attack that you deal gives you a little bit more of this meter here. So you're going to get more and more of this meter until you reach 100. You then become absolutely insane. So you become to the elastic strength state, where you gain 800 HP for a duration of 6 seconds. The damage you deal in this 6 seconds is 75 damage, so it's 15 more damage than usual. The distance is 8 meters of your attack, so your distance is reduced, but you do deal more damage in that state. And again, you could swipe your attacks across the screen as well, similar to before. So this just basically turns you into a tank in this game for 6 seconds. And the good thing is your movement's actually slightly better than a lot of the tanks in the game. So his final ability is the ultimate, which allows him to jump in the air and smash the ground. Now what this does, this gives you a slow rate of negative 10% per leap, building up to a maximum of negative 60. So you can slow enemies down to 60%. And it also deals damage, of course, initially starting at 50 and then building plus 10 every smash, up to a max of 100 damage. Now obviously you're not starting off at 100 damage, so realistically he's not doing too much damage in my opinion. So getting on into the gameplay now and the tips portion of this video, I'm going to start off with the ultimate because people don't really know how to use this correctly, and that also includes myself. Now to get the most out of this, you want to make sure you've built up your shields from some of his other abilities first. So make sure you've got additional shields before you use your ultimate. That's one thing you do need to make sure. because you can still die during the ultimate ability because you're just using the base health and you still can take damage. So make sure you build up shields elsewhere with some of your other abilities, then use your ultimate attack. The other thing is, the ultimate attack is a slowdown ultimate. It is not going to get you kills. I mean, it can get you kills, of course, because you're going to be dealing damage, but it's mainly used for slowdown. So you want to make sure you pair this with a Hela, an Iron Man, a Namor, a Moon Knight ultimate to make sure you're dealing the most amount of damage as possible whilst you're in that ultimate state, because it is mainly for slowdown. It is not really going to grant you a lot of kills with this ultimate. Then the reflexive rubber allows you to survive absolutely anything, by the way. You can survive melee and ultimates and projectile attacks. So if you're literally low health, you want to use the reflexive rubber to keep yourself alive. The other thing with reflexive rubber is you need to make sure you aim the attack back. So I know you've taken on a lot of damage at this point and you want to just survive the fight, but make sure you do make use of this ability, because 180 damage, if you tank that much, is a lot of damage to deal back out to an enemy player. And you don't need to deal it back to the enemy that's attacking you. Deal it to one of the tanks, deal it to one of the kind of easier to hit players, because trying to hit them back with this ability is kind of difficult, to be honest. When you pull it off against a harder moving target, you do get that sense of achievement, but even if you cannot do that, and if you're kind of a lower skilled player and you know that, aim for one of the tanks, make sure you output that damage back. When it comes to the elongation ability, this is the one that you kind of want to be using the most, in my opinion. The reason for it is because not only outputting damage to enemies, or you're going to be using it to help shield yourself or teammates, you're going to be gaining tons of shield. But not only this, is probably one of the best attacks for flying heroes, or heroes like Spider-Man that move around a lot, or even an Iron Fist. Now, obviously, you don't want to get in a fist fight with an Iron Fist, let's be honest, but for Spider-Man and characters like that, you literally grip onto them and they cannot go anywhere, and you're definitely going to be dealing that damage to them. So that is something just keep in mind when you're using that ability. Obviously, you're getting shields back when you use it as well, so you can tank extra damage doing this. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, I do recommend using it quite a lot on teammates as well, and you can use it on teammates mid-fight. So even though you're fighting someone else, grapple a teammate, give you and them the 75 HP shields, because it'll help you out even more than dealing the damage to the enemy player. Distended grip, in my opinion, should only be really used on one enemy. Even though it's such a cool idea to smash two enemies together, I just don't think it's really that viable inside the game when you're doing it. Practically, it doesn't really make sense. I've really pulled it off myself doing this, so I do recommend just using it to deal as much damage as you can to one enemy player, and dealing 70 damage with one attack is pretty solid. So I do recommend doing that. Obviously, you want to mix in your melee attacks there as well. When you are doing melee attacks, make sure you're swinging your arms to about a 90-degree angle so you can hit as many players as you can. You're going to be up front in the fight. You've got loads of shields with Mr. Fantastic, so you want to make sure you're in the fight, swinging your arms around like crazy, trying to hit as much people as you can, because that's obviously going to build up for the elastic strength, and that is kind of what you're playing for. You're basically keep playing until you build up elastic strength, use it, keep playing, build up elastic strength, and use it, because that is going to allow you to be a ridiculously tanky, overpowered character in this game, and you can literally toe-to-toe it with 90% of the vanguards in this game without dying, because you're outputting way more movement, way more damage, and it's just absolutely insane. His abilities are really, really good. So even without the elastic strength, he's a solid character, but just having that additional there just makes him absolutely insane, in my opinion. So that is how you want to use Mr. Fantastic. We've given you some additional tips that are really important on how to actually use this character. Like I said, make sure you use the elongation on the movement based characters. It will help you out a ton. And that is it. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, and thank you very much for watching.